Hello, beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak coming to you live from Ontario of Canada as your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. It has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from the mental prison that you find yourself in and build a life, a business, and or a career that you're obsessed with. And this is here's why I'm so passionate about it, about what I do, is because all of this came out, all of this was created from my own personal need for survival, where I found myself completely lost, overwhelmed, and taken over by emotions that I did not know existed. I felt things that I didn't know I could feel. I felt numb in ways I didn't know I could feel numb in. And some days it was really, really hard. And because it was so hard, that is where the mind just wants to escape and run away and not deal with it and make a permanent decision that could not be reversed. And I know I'm not the only one that was or is on this struggle, on the suffering bus or train that almost like every day feels like a train wreck. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do, why I'm so passionate about it, because I see myself in each and every one of you. I see my pain, my suffering, my struggle in each and every one of you, even though the things that you're going through and growing through are different than the ones I did. But why I see myself in each and every one of you is because I, just like you, have feelings and emotions that are the same. They have the same labels. I have fears, fear is always going to be there, but certain things, certain feelings and emotions, they're always going to be there. Actually, all of them are going to be there. It's just you learn how to not allow them to take over you. You learn how to be in control of them instead of them controlling you. And this is the key. So as I had been learning, I had been sharing, and I always continue to learn, because there's always something new that comes out, that becomes available to us, and yet it's not that new. So I know what anger is. I know what sadness, what stress, what distress, what anxiety, what panic attacks, depression, suppression, shame, guilt, embarrassment, just to name a few. So this is the reason why I decided that yesterday we did a podcast, Bethany and I, we were talking about triggers, we were talking about buttons. And there was one comment on there where a lady, I don't want to name names just in case you don't want to be known, but you know who you are. But one of our beautiful women has mentioned that she has a lot of triggers, and it's much longer than a to-do list. And this is what got me to think of my old self, where I feel like my to-do list was triggers. My to-be list was triggers. My dreams and goals was triggers. Literally, every single thing that was going through my mind and I was experiencing, I felt like I was just being triggered constantly. And it became, like I said, it became a place of existence where I no longer wanted to be. I lost myself completely, and it took some time to find myself and rediscover myself and dig my way out from this swamp that I was in. That was a really, really, really deep swamp that I felt like kept swallowing me every time I tried to come up for air. But you know what? Before I knew it, and I always say this phrase, before I know, before you know, before I knew it, because it happens so seamlessly and almost in a way that you don't even recognize, you don't even realize when that moment happens. But all of a sudden I would wake up and I don't even know how many days it was. It might have been that first day, might have been a few days, but I still can't even recall when that was. But I remember the day I finally felt and I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't feel anxiety or panic attacks since the moment I woke up, because normally this was my norm. I was waking up with panic attacks, with feeling like an elephant is sitting in my chest. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything, I instantly was spiraling and just suffering, suffocating without too many clear thoughts and reasons why. So now I've shared a little bit more why I am here, why I do what I do, and my hair has a mind of its own, as all of our hair has a mind of its own. It sticks out wherever it wants to. You know what? To each their own. Go ahead, whichever way you want it. Little hairs. So I believe it's important that you all get to know me a little bit more each and every time we chit chat. Every time I do one of these podcasts, which on Thursday, this is why I do the weekly live Get Your Shit Together guidance, or Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak, which I'm trying to remember which way I put the words, which order I put the words in the title. So this is why I do this podcast on Thursdays in our Facebook group that is dedicated to women who are healing emotionally and growing spiritually. And those of you who are not in the group, I want to invite you to the group. If you're listening or watching this podcast elsewhere, the group is called Heal the Unicorn, Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. And so let's go into why women's emotions are all over the place, why your emotions are all over the place. And I say women because I work with women, and of course it's not limited to just women, because this type of content helps men as well, from what I hear, but I gear it towards women because I work with women. And the biggest reason why is because women that I'm working with are in such a vulnerable place that men are simply not allowed in there, because in some ways we are a different breed, and men and women process and understand things a little bit differently. And I want to provide a safe space for women to grow through their pain, to grow through their suffering, to grow through their stories, to grow through their emotions, not to go around them or avoid them or put them away or suppress them, but to grow through. And I use the word grow because growing can hurt. When I was growing through my pain and suffering, through my emotions, through my battles with myself, through all the stories that I had in my mind, when I was growing through them, it caused me to find myself avoiding doing the work because it felt mentally and physically painful. it felt like I couldn't do it. It felt like I was trying to run a marathon and I was not prepared for it. And this was the biggest reason why I finally realized, something just clicked in my mind, where I finally realized just how worth it was to invest in a coach, to invest in the program that will take me from A to Z, and just follow it. And having a coach there to me was very important, because I was finding myself, because I've taken many other programs, but I would find myself avoiding doing the work. I would learn, but I would avoid doing the work. And having a coach, that cheerleader, that motivator, if you will, that was there present whenever I needed her, made all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. Having someone who is invested in you just as you are into them, right? Because you give an investment into them, and at the same time you really give an investment into yourself. And that is what really started to get, I was starting to get a lot of traction. Prior to that, it was just a little bit of traction, a little bit, and then I would fall off the wagon, so to speak, and I would get back on, fall off, get back on, fall off. But having someone there in my corner made all the difference in the world. So let's go into the reasons why women's emotions are all over the place. I will just name whatever ones come to mind, starting with hormonal fluctuations and imbalances. And it's a two-part thing here, okay? And here's how it is. We women, and this is what really makes us different from men. We women, we have our cycles that we go through every single month. And we're literally and physically changing every single day. There are, even the way that we process hormones is different than men. I can't remember what part of our body. I want to say, don't quote me on this, but the women, men I know process most of their hormones through their testicles, which is testosterone, a lot of it, right? But for women, we process it through, I want to say pancreas, but I don't know if, like I said, don't quote me on it, but we process it through a different part of our body. So you can imagine that now, like, I wish I knew exactly what it was, but it takes a strain on us, right? We have, like, our feelings and our emotions are more intense than men. We go through them every single month, and especially as teenagers. That's why you see teenage girls, really protective and defensive and very emotional and really all over the place. Now, this is also the time where they're getting to know themselves, and they're getting to know themselves through their feelings and emotions. But what's available to them to help them through it all? To really, 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 really know who they are and get to know themselves on a personal level. Not much, or practically nothing is available. That's something that they got to do and learn on their own. And more often than not, it also must come from parents, because children are not even aware of what's happening, what's going on, and they don't have that rational mind that we adults have. Our rational mind turns on at about 27, 28 years old. So prior to that, there's not very much rationality that's happening there, or logic, right? So now you're an adult that once was a teenager, that did not learn very much about your feelings and emotions, what are the chances that you're going to know exactly what to do with them and how to deal with them? You just learn to get through the day, to get through the month, to get to the next month, and do it all over again, do it all over again. So that's one part of the hormonal fluctuations. And then the hormonal disbalance is everything that we consume. Now, when it comes to consuming, it is not just through your mouth, it is through your biggest organ, which is your skin. And what you consume is going to affect your hormones, even more so in this day and age than decades and decades and decades ago, because of these big giant companies that just care about their bottom line, that care about their pockets getting bigger. And that means cutting corners where they can. That means profits before anything else. And that means, unfortunately, for all of us, is that we don't truly or fully know what product we're consuming, whether it is the lotion you're putting on your skin or on your face, or the makeup you're putting on your eyes, or the food that you're consuming, which chances are it might not even be food, it might be food product. You don't even know where this apple or this banana or whatever fruit or vegetable you're eating, you don't know where it was grown unless you start looking and digging deeper and find out that certain things that come from certain countries you don't even want to consume because of how they're grown and the conditions they're grown. And those countries don't care about other countries. They just care about their bottom line. So this is another biggest reason why our hormones are out of whack. And then on top of that, if you're consuming any kind, I'm going to refer to it as the pharmaceuticals, if you're consuming anything that was created in a lab, you don't fully know what's in there and the effects that it would have. Many of those things have not been studied long enough to even tell you what they can do. They need to be studied for at least one full generation, if not two, for you to know exactly what the side effects would be. And a lot of the things that you get nowadays, they don't even come with a really big, long pamphlet anymore. Everything is online, right? And most people will not even look. And if you start looking, you'll be shocked by all the warnings, but all the things that they mention and let you know of. So hormonal fluctuation and disbalance within your body, which affects your energy, affects your mood. And because when your mood is affected, when your energy is affected, when you're feeling unwell, you will feel more lethargic, more short-tempered, more easily irritated or annoyed. And here comes the emotional mama or a woman, right? Another one for women especially is overload of responsibilities. Especially those of you who are good girls, you say yes to a lot of things because you want to make everybody else's life easy, because you want to make sure that everybody around you feels loved and cared for. So therefore, you're going to say yes to more things that you can even handle. And in return, number one, most people won't even remember those things that you've done for them, but they will remember the things that you didn't do. And that's most people. Whereas other people, they will remember all the things that you have done and won't even care to remember the things that you haven't done. There are those types of people. If you look, you'll find them. I'm the person that I will remember the things that people have done for me, but when it comes to remember the things that people have done to me, it needs to be like really, really bad and severe. And I can name them on one hand. And I don't think about them, I don't dwell on them, and that's one of the reasons why there's no point of even naming them, because when they're named, they're brought back into the present moment, into my conscious mind, then there might be a residual effect of that, and my emotions might be triggered or re-triggered again. So that's another reminder that with your emotions, if you start thinking back of the things, or how things were and how they aren't, how bad they were, and just focusing on the negative and the dark, on the catabolic past, you bring into the now. And even if you work through it and there's not much left, the residual effect of that might carry into the next day. And yes, it is valuable and it is important to revisit the past, but doing it in a healthy and a safe way and environment is going to make a big difference. So, overload of responsibilities. You are juggling a lot of roles. One of the things that I did when I was in that swamp and I couldn't get out, because I felt so unworthy, so unvalued, that I wasn't doing enough, I wasn't being enough. And the biggest reason why is because my deepest program was, I must be financially contributing to the household. And for a few months there, I wasn't, because the last job I had, I quit because I knew I was meant to be doing something more, and I didn't know what it was. And it was really hard and challenging to do that, because that job actually, I thought and believed, was my dream job. And when I started working there, I really quickly realized it was not. It was more of a nightmare. And the longer I stayed, the more I lost myself. On top of all the years of losing myself prior in the previous job, and becoming a mother and becoming a wife and becoming friends with different types of people, you lose yourself in the process of life, because you say yes here, there, everywhere, and not much time left for yourself. So one of the things that I did, and this is, I invite you to do this as well. Highly recommend and invite you to do that if you feel ready to do this. And this helped me greatly. I remember sitting one day and sitting covered in tears and feeling swollen from just how much I've been crying for days on end, and feeling miserable with myself, about myself, and why am I even here? Why am I even bothering? What am I even good for? What am I even doing here? And then a thought popped into my mind. Mothers play a lot of roles. And I thought, okay, play a lot of roles, what does that mean? They do a lot of different types of jobs that the government can't afford, and that's why mothers don't get paid. And I thought, oh my God, let me make a list of all the jobs that I'm doing as a mother. List them. And then right beside each one, write how much I would be earning for being a taxi driver, for being a nanny, for being a house caretaker. And then when it comes to being a house caretaker, a lot of things are part of that. Gardening, obviously cleaning the house, but doing laundry, and what's involved in doing laundry. And I just went and I started writing all of these different jobs, no matter how little or big they were, right? Even being a cheerleader while my kids were attending classes, bringing them to classes. If they had if they were sick, I was able to stay home with them. Well, how much would that cost? Having someone else take care of the kid while they're home, because now I was a burger wiper as well, right? And just writing it all down, and then I remember writing the amount of how much I would be earning for a year doing all of these jobs. And I can't tell you the exact number, but I remember it was over 300,000 a year. And I thought, no wonder the government can't afford to pay stay-at-home moms for all the jobs they do, because they can't even get into that. And that helped me to start seeing my worth and my value. Because, and also writing down, then I went even further at the one point, is writing down how long each one of these jobs would take. Right? And then writing down like basically how many hours a day I was spending doing, or a week spending doing this and this and this and this and this and this and that. And I realized also where my time was going as well. That something as simple as cleaning the house, well, it shouldn't take more than, in my mind, right? It shouldn't take more than an hour and a half to do, was taking me 3 to 4 hours to clean the house. And I started questioning, well, why is that? And like, not in a way of beating myself up, but in a way of, well, why is it actually taking me 3 to 4 hours to do? Yes, I know with some of these things, the best way to describe it is I was trying to get the courage and find the energy to do the task, to do the activity, whatever it was, however big or small it was. It felt enormous. Like even washing dishes, I would find myself just standing and looking at the sink and crying and feeling like, why do I have to do this again and again and again? I don't want to do this anymore. But yet it's an everyday thing, right? It's okay, and it's normal for us to get to a place in our life where it's almost like, I can't deal with all this anymore. It feels too much, because it's an overload of responsibilities. That's why women feel so emotional. But you gotta start unloading those responsibilities and sharing them and delegating them. You're not responsible for every freaking thing, and you gotta stop doing that. You are creating a miserable life for yourself. And yes, in a temporary spectrum or temporary moment, you're making a life fun and easy for everyone around you. But in the long term, chances are you're not. Because by doing everything, your children might end up going through the same things you are, and the same things I've just been talking about. I don't want my daughter to stand there at the sink and be crying that I can't wash another dish. I don't want to do this again. It's every day. Like, why am I the only one responsible for that? Right? That also means that her partner needs to learn, and hopefully does learn and know how to wash dishes, how to do every single thing that is involved in taking care of a house and a family. So, write all the jobs, all the things that you're responsible for that you're doing. Write how much you would earn for each one. Write how long it takes you to do. And then go even further and write which one of these are you going to be delegating to someone else to do. Whether you believe they're fully capable or not, initially they're not going to be fully capable. You weren't fully capable either. You weren't capable and you weren't ready to have children, and yet here you are. You have children and you take care of them, and you're doing a pretty damn good job. If not an amazing job, if I might say so myself. Because I see you and I hear you thinking that you are not doing enough, that you're not being a good enough mother, and looking at all the ways that you are not doing enough or being enough. And that alone tells me that you are an amazing mother. That you are simply just looking how to be better and improve yourself. But you might also end up overwhelming yourself with that enormous list of how you can do better, how you can be better, because realistically, you can be best at every single thing you do and every single thing you take on. Whether it's in your personal life or in your family life or in your career, you got to pick your battles in a way. So, overload of responsibilities. We got that one, right? Next one I would probably mention is, which kind of connects to the overload of responsibilities, is your cultural conditioning. When it comes to culture, it is not the biggest culture that you have been conditioned to and through is your family. In the way that you were raised in your family and all the traditions that you were doing in your family. What your mom was doing, what your dad was doing, what your even uncle and aunts were doing, what your grandparents were doing, but most importantly, what your parents, because this is what you've learned. And you probably watched your mother suppress her feelings and emotions and say, I'm fine, it's okay. Even though she might not even want to be here anymore. But she put on a brave, strong face for the better of her children and tried to suppress her pain and hurt and her suffering the best she could. And because you can only contain so much within yourself when you're not dealing with it, she would explode once in a while, right? So, the cultural condition, what you've learned, you were taught to hold it together, to be tough, to be strong, to deal with it later, to deal with it after, or just brush it to the side and, do it anyways. Go around, avoid and ignore your feelings and emotions because in one way or another, they don't matter. Until one day you realize that you've been ignoring the most important part of yourself, which is your emotional part, your emotions, and they do matter. And now you have this hurt inner child who's hurting right, left, and center, and sideways and upside down and from every direction. And this is how the spiritual awakening happens. And this is where you're forced to work on your dark side, on your shadows, on all the things that have been put and trapped in your Pandora's box that now can no longer fit anything else. Because the last time you put something in that box, you couldn't even close it anymore, and there was a crack left, and now everything just comes out, and you can no longer put things in there because there's no more space. Now you gotta go through it all, you gotta understand it all, you gotta declutter it, you gotta organize it. Some of these things you're going to keep, but you're going to keep them in a way of some of these things, they haven't been washed or laundered, quote unquote, so you're going to take care of them to make sure that they're good and they're ready, and then you're going to readjust them in a way that they make sense to you now as the new version of yourself as you step into your future. Whereas other things you no longer need because they're no longer serving you, so you let them go, you send them off to their new home, you give them away, you send that energy back to the universe, and the universe will give that energy to whoever is next and also use it for itself. You're also, and chances are you are, that's why you're in this group with Heal Unicorn, and that is part of Empath Unicorn Academy, which means that you are an empath. And as an empath, you are highly sensitive. You are in tune, not just with your feelings and emotions, even though you might not fully feel like you are in tune, but you are in tune, you are connected, and you're highly empathetic, and you know and understand your emotions. And then on top of that, you take others on. Whether you're aware of it or not, you do take other people's energy on to yourself. Someone comes home and they're not in the best mood. They walk through the door, you feel it. You don't know why or what it is, but all of a sudden you feel off, you feel different. Even if that person hasn't even fully walked into the house, you already feel that. You go into, let's say you go to a party and you walk into the room and you walk towards a certain area, a certain corner, a certain table, you walk by it, you feel something because you're picking on that energy. You're picking that up, right? It spreads pretty quickly. But just like the positive energy as well, it can spread little by little. Before you know it, it can change the whole environment of the space of the room. And dealing with stress and anxiety. Of course, then you go into the trigger, because I refer to this as fight or flight or freeze state, where you can't see clearly, you can't think clearly, you can't make clear decisions. You and your brain are clouded and foggy, and there's a lot happening that is either making you feel highly emotional or numb, and you find yourself not wanting to feel either way. But I want to remind you that whatever it is that you're going through, that you're dealing, that you're growing through, that you are facing, all of that is temporary. It's temporary. Now, how temporary? It's up to you. It is. Some of you might be in a place where you are nowhere near being in control of your emotional state and well-being, while some of you are getting to that place. And those of you who are at that place, chances are you're not in this group. Just saying. I'm still learning myself, and I've been doing this for years, for 8 years at this point. But honestly, I feel like it's something that we start doing from the moment that we're born. So we're all learning and learning and learning more about ourselves, more about our emotions and our triggers, and healing them and overcoming them, so they no longer have a hold on us. And one of the biggest tools that has helped me and the women that I work with to really hone this power in, hold the strength in, has been Energy Leadership Index Assessment, or ELI for sure, where you understand and see yourself through the 7 lenses called the 7 energy levels in ways like you have never before. Because this assessment is actually an attitudinal assessment. It assesses your attitude, your outlook on life, your perceptions, the lenses that you're wearing. You know, some of you are wearing rose-colored glasses, and that's great, but it does not go into the root of the problem. Some of you are wearing black lenses, and you're not seeing anything, and you're just letting it go, letting it be, or you're just trying to tackle everything and force your way through everything, and that's also not the way that you're gonna get what you want. And everyone is being used by, everyone has access to the 7 energy levels, and everyone is being used by these 7 energy levels until they learn how to use them, and then kind of flip it onto its head. And it really does start by understanding yourself and your attitude, your outlook on life and on yourself and things that make up life. And then you can do something about it. You get to really start to see your roots. Another reason why the emotions really take over is you got a lot of healing to do. The moment you think you're done, more things come up. And you're once again triggered, re-triggered, and you got a lot of unresolved trauma you got to heal. You got healing to do. You got more spiritual awakening to do. You got more shadow work, more inner child healing work to do. And I feel like there comes a moment in all of our lives that we go from feeling dread that there's more to do to feeling excitement that there's more to do. And excitement might not be in the ways like, oh my God, yes, let's do this, but it's you welcoming it. It's you saying, okay, let's do this. Let's play this game again. Let's go on this roller coaster ride, because now I'm familiar with it. And now I know myself enough that I know what I'm going to be going through and how to deal and manage each and every part of myself and my emotional state and well-being. So, unresolved trauma. And keeping in mind, there's also, on top of your season, right, your cycle, you also have the seasons of the planet and the lunar season, right? The moon comes with its own cycles, and figuring out yourself through that process, and knowing that in the winter time, usually you're going to be hibernating. You're going to be going with it. In the spring, you're going to get all excited and you're going to get pregnant with seeds, with ideas, with plants, and you're going to plant them, and you're going to continue water them, and then you're going to start watching them grow and flourish through the summer and the fall. And in the winter, you get to go back in within again to, best way to put it is reflect on what was and then see what is going to be, and then plan for the spring again, and so on and on and on. Sometimes we're also, another biggest reason why we feel like our emotions are all over the place is that we forgot what life is all about. And we were fed some kind of a lie throughout our life and started to believe that life was going to get better when. I'll be happy when. And I'll enjoy and do whatever I want when. Because when you were little, everything was new and was exciting and it was fun. After a little while, you're no longer excited by the grass, by the trees, by the same things you saw and experienced day in and day out. So you needed new things, and then you started to put your happiness and joy off until I'll be happy when, and all that kind of, approaches that we've learned how to do. And instead, looking at now and learning to be happy with the mundane, repetitive things that you get to do, because this is one and only life that you get to do them. And you can either be miserable about doing them, like I once was, or you can make it fun for yourself. You can even do it maybe in a different way. What would a different way look like? What would the child you, or how would the child you, the little you, wash dishes? The little me would fill up one sink with a lot of water and a lot of foam, and she would play with that foam, and she would wash the dishes in that foam. And she would be okay with water spraying everywhere, because then mommy will clean it. So when I'm done doing that, I myself, the mommy, then steps in and cleans everything else, right? So learning and trying to do the same things in a different way. And then you also, on top of all of those things, you got your own dreams, you got your own goals, and you have your own desires. You're not doing them, you're not following them. There's lack of clarity. You have a feeling of what you want. And this is one thing I have also noticed with most of the women that I work with, is that they don't even have any clear goals, and they don't even know how to get started. And even as interesting as not knowing what goals are and how to set them, and it's like, what's a goal? Right? And then I would go into that anything can literally be a goal. You can have a goal of, I want to brush my teeth every single morning. because I've got to a point in my life where I completely have neglected myself, and this is the goal that I want. There is no limit to how big or small it is, and everyone has a different one, right? There was one woman that I was working with. Her goal was to potty train her son. Now, I'm not an expert at potty training, but I had 2 kids. So in a way, I am an expert at potty training, because at that point she had 1 kid. So this is one of the things that we focused on. And she came up with different things that what she would do to make it fun for herself and for her child. And lo and behold, the child was potty trained. So there is no limit. You get to choose whatever goal you want. And you don't even need to go into why you want it, but I do encourage you to go into why you want it, because then you're buying yourself into why that goal is important. So you'll be much more likely to achieve and accomplish that goal and reach and grow into that goal. So you got things that you want to do, that you want to experience. And the experience part is connected to your emotional self as well. The emotions that you would experience when you achieve this goal, this dream, when you reach this desire. Those are important, and chances are you might not be doing that. And on top of that, you might not be spending enough or too much time in your personal development and in your personal growth. I love and still love personal development. Now, I used to not like personal growth, but I've learned to like personal growth, because personal growth is me applying what I have learned through personal development. Personal development is you learning, and personal growth is you applying what you learned, so you grow through what you apply. And the biggest reason why I didn't like it, because to me it felt like the hardest investment I could make, which was an investment of my energy. Not feeling up to it and forcing myself to do it, even though I didn't want to do it, because I would believe that it would take a lot of my energy, and I would feel drained, and I would feel bad. And then when I started questioning that, I also realized that it would actually make me feel good and better about myself. And that was actually the reason why I didn't want to do it, because I didn't feel ready to stepping into this better, healthier version of myself. So therefore, I avoided doing personal growth as much as I could. So I found myself just learning and not applying what I learned. And then I just started to focus more on the personal growth, because I have learned enough, and started just, okay, one thing, one path, do it 1, 2, 3, 4, walk up those steps until I get to whatever promise was made, based on this program, based on that program, based on this path, based on that path. And I did it. And I haven't looked back since. And it just seamlessly became who I am. So those are the reasons why I would say women are women's emotions are all over the place. So let me really quickly, let me see if, yeah. 2, 3, 4, walk. Okay, because I don't see comments on my phone, but I see them on here. Rebecca says, keep trying to watch, but it freezes. Odd, it might be on my end, because sometimes the internet might not be the bestest. And it's been cold here. We've had quite a bit of frost outside this morning, so it's been fun. It's been fun. Definitely time to close down the cottage, which we're going to do this weekend, and definitely time to close down everything that we have in the backyard and in the front yard to just be done with the season, so I can go into the hibernation mode and focus on my inner growth, as well as helping those of you who have signed up and will be signing up for the Imposter Banishing Quest. There's amazing things in store for you ladies. And then Rebecca says, very overcast here. Awesome. I guess it's gloomy everywhere now, eh? Ali says, good afternoon, gorgeous. Oh, good afternoon to you, gorgeous, as well. I saw you in here, but I couldn't see the comments in my phone, so that's why I opened them up. Thank you for hopping on and saying hello. Rebecca says, I finally defeated the dish dragon. Ooh. How does that feel, Rebecca? Finally defeating that dish dragon. And then Rebecca says, I'm realizing that the attitude makes a difference. A massive difference. A massive. And most of the time we're not even aware of our attitude. And I thought I was aware of my attitude. And then when I did my first ELI, Energy Leadership Index Assessment, I realized that I was pretty close. But I didn't really know my attitude. And then I went in and I did that inner work with my coach and continued doing that and doing that and doing that. And then did the ELI again. And there was a massive improvement. And I still was surprised by where I was, because I thought I was in a better place than what I was. This is where the ELI doesn't lie. As long as you are not lying and not just answering in the way of wishful or hopeful thinking that I will be this way. It's like, no. In the moment where you are now, that's how you're answering the questions for on the ELI. And that's what I did. And even though sometimes it's just like, oh, well, no, I want to be this way. But no, you got to answer where you are now. And that's why I was still a little bit surprised on where I was when I saw that my second result. But then understanding myself on such levels that I never have before, all these levels, right? That the third time I did it, I wasn't surprised. I was like, I know how to play this game now. Because everything is a game if you really think about it. Your emotions are a game. And if you know how to play the game, you will always come on top. You will always be the winner. And right now, you don't know them. You don't know how to play the game. And the game is playing you. You being played by yourself. And you don't even know it yet. But when you know how to play the game, you're always going to be the winner. Even when you know that whatever you're going through and dealing with, that you're not really like physically actually winning through whatever it is that you going or dealing with, and you still feel like a winner because you're in control of yourself. So Rebecca says, makes me feel confident that I can break and develop any habit. Amazing. And that was with the dish dragon. And then Rebecca says, I never thought I could wash the dishes without feeling the drain. Me too. How many of you ladies felt this way or might still feel this way, that you feel like it's a drain to wash the dishes? And I honestly can't even tell you the last time when it felt like a drain. Actually, the last time, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and it's because there was just a few dishes in the sink and I just really didn't want to do them. And it's not that I felt like it was a drain, it's that I saw that as an opportunity for my kid to do it instead. So, like, okay, which one of you, whose month is it to be doing the dishes? Okay, great, get on it. Get on them dishes, wash them. Now, of course, they don't do it in the way that I would expect them to, or that I would do it, but they're getting better. So But prior to that, honestly, I can't even tell you when I felt like it was a drain. It's just, even if it comes up and I feel momentarily that it's a drain, I already know how to switch so that way I am in control and not being controlled by my emotions. And of course, once in a while, there's an opportunity that catches me off guard, and I get to learn more about myself and my triggers. And those opportunities are always going to be external, where somebody else is helping me to identify where else I can do a little bit more work on myself. And even though initially it's like, how dare you? But then really quickly I'm like, okay, time to get to work. Let's do this. And I don't need to tell anyone about what I'm going and dealing with and overcoming, but I just am. And it happens much more quickly now than it did when I started my journey. Because when I started my journey, it would have been like weeks or months, and actually I would just wallow in my self-pity. And that's an important part of the journey as well, by the way. If any of you are in that state and finding yourself just wallowing in your pain and suffering and in that self-pity, it's important. You learn so much from that. And then I'll tell you that when you look back, you don't really remember those things too much or too clearly. You just remember feeling some negative way, and also in what ways you felt negative, but you're no longer emotionally charged. It's almost like a distant dream. So that's what you can look forward to on your journey. And then Rebecca says, I'm at the point where everyone except Charlotte wages their own dishes. I wash everything else, and I'm okay with that. Awesome. I love that. I'm glad that you're delegating to your offsprings, as I like to call our children. They don't like it so much, but maybe more of a reason why I like calling them offsprings, because like, I'm not an offspring. Really? You're not? I think you are. I don't like others to clean up after me, Rebecca says. Yeah, but why not? What if you could like others to clean up after you? What would that look like? What would that feel like? So, look into that. Anyways, that is all that I have for you all, beautiful ladies, for today. Thank you very much for all of you being on here, staying with me on live, whether it was freezing or not. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing yourselves and your journey, and even just for saying hi. I really appreciate that as well. Looking forward to hearing from the rest of you, because I want to know, what is your biggest takeaway from today? What was your big aha moment, your big realization? And then what are you going to do with it? What are you going to apply and do today so that way tomorrow can be a better day? And also a reminder, for those of you who are interested in knowing more about the imposter banishing quest, reach out to me to schedule a call with me, so that way I can explain everything to you and help you see and understand what it's going to be, what it's going to involve, and what results you can expect yourself to achieve and receive and grow into at the end of the imposter banishing quest with me. So other than that, until I hear from each and every one of you, have an amazing rest of your day. We'll see each other either next Thursday for another one of these Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak, or on Monday at 11:45 for card reading, weekly live card reading that I do also in the group. And all of the things that I do are at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time. And if you love and enjoy these podcasts, these mini little workshops, if you will, lessons, trainings, guidance trainings, then set a reminder if you haven't done so already, so the way you don't miss them and you hop on and you see me go live in the group and you hop on and join the live, so you can experience what it's like to be part of the actual live video versus recorded, I guess, afterwards, right? But regardless, even if you're watching it afterwards on replay, let me know. And I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, bye everybody.